Best albums of 2020. What a year it's been. What a year it's been. But we are here to talk about the music, and there's been a lot of great music despite the fact that it might be many people's worst year ever. Like, I could imagine in like 20 years when people, you know, your friends, your family, like reminiscing, 2020 is going to be brought up. It's just going to be one of those years that people look back on and go, that was one of the weirdest years of my life. But the beauty of music is that you can do that shit in your bedroom these days. You can produce, master, record, mix, all that kind of shit in very, very lo-fi circumstances. And it's pretty clear to me that music hasn't suffered in 2020 because of coronavirus and everything else going on. It's only really thrived, and I think it's a shame that some people may view music as not being as good these days, because I think in a year where you've been cooped up in your house way more than you should be because of factors you can't control, I think it's the best time really to take advantage of that and listen to the wonderful, fantastic music we've had. But for the people that know me well, this channel is about the passion of the music. I'm here to share the music, and this is what I'm going to do for this top 50 best albums of 2020. There's been so much great music, and I'm here to share all of that with you guys, and hopefully you get some recommendations, or at least some agreements from this list. Maybe you'll go, yeah, you know what, that was a great album. Or you'll go, hey, I've not heard that album, I'm gonna go check it out. And that's what this channel has always been about, always will be about for as long as I do this shit. So yes, I'm excited to give you my top 50. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Starting with number 50, obviously, we've got Key Glock with Yellow Tape. Grew off me a little bit because of the next mixtape that he dropped, which I think was slightly better actually, catchier and more melodic in a lot of places in comparison to Yellow Tape. But I still think it's really one of the highlights in trap music for 2020. I know people think this guy's not very original or anything like that, but I don't know, man, I just have a lot of fun with this guy. He's not one to take himself too seriously. He's not the most original guy out there, but honestly, nor are many of the other trap artists that get hyped up, and it doesn't necessarily make the music any less or any worse. 49, we've got Gidge with New Light. Really love this little duo here. They are fantastic at putting together really wonderful progressions in micro house music. It just really keeps you locked in for the runtime. They drop pretty long albums, but I don't really feel like anything ever gets wasted with them. Then at 48, we have Rome with Lone Furrow, one of the best, in my opinion, neo-folk bands out there. I listen to neo-folk every now and then, and I just don't know if I ever find anything as good as Rome. And it's a shame, really, because I think it's a good genre, but I just think Rome are really up there with the best in this genre. And shout out to Mike Seatown too, did a really fun review with him. It was great to actually collaborate with someone I've been watching for years, so that was definitely one of the best moments for me in 2020 in regards to this channel. Bladee at number 47 with Mechatok with Good Luck, of course, really short, little snappy, straight to the point release here, going in the more like electro pop direction, I guess you could call it. Really cool stuff, really like what Bladee has been doing in 2020. And at number 46, we have the Beths with Jump Rope Gazers. Loved Future Me Hates Me. This one's not quite on that level, I don't think, but it still has the fantastic power pop bliss that these guys are so bloody good at making. Seriously, the harmonies on this thing were top notch. Jessie Ware at number 45 with What's Your Pleasure, the most sensual and groovy dance pop album of the year. Seriously, this shit is kind of horny. It's a little horny, honestly, but it's very good. 44, we have Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit with Reunions, an album that I kind of almost forgot about, and I felt like a right twat when I realized I'd forgotten about it, because Jason Isbell is a fantastic country artist, and this might be the best release with the 400 Unit that he's got going on as a side project, but even still, it's pretty damn brilliant. 43, we've got AceMoMa with A New Dawn, really cool electronic type stuff going on here. And then at number 42, we have Navy Blue with Irin. I've never been sure how to say that, but a really nice lo-fi abstract hip hop release from one of the biggest talents in that area at the moment, Navy Blue. At number 41, we've got Toriena with the Pure Fire, which is really exactly what it says it is on the album title, just bangers after bangers after bangers. And then at number 40, we do have Glock once again with A Son of a Gun. Like I say, slightly more melodic, more catchy trap bangers here, just really playful and fun. I can't really say no to this. One of the nicest little folk releases of the year, I think, Basia Bulat at number 39 with Are You In Love? And then at number 38, we've got Okkyung Lee with a really, really beautiful ambient release here. One of the most overlooked releases of the year, without a doubt. Honestly, lay your ears on this and just get mesmerized with what Okkyung Lee can do. KNV at 37 with Room for the Moon. Really nice artsy, abstract weirdness going on here. Really cool pop release at the core of it. These are pop tracks, honestly, but she twists them around and makes some really cool vocal melodies using her beautiful voice. And just creates a really cool atmosphere with this album. Young Nudy at 36 with Anyways, definitely my favourite Young Nudy release so far, even though his back catalogue is actually filled with some great material. But it turned out that Anyways just ended up being my favourite one, so that's how it is. 35, one of the year's best soul albums in my opinion, with Fat Night, Live For Each Other. Definitely got their influences pretty clear, but I actually think they utilise them in a really cool way and create some really great songs out of it, like Honest Man. What a great track that is. And there's like this nice little funkiness running through the album too. It's great. 34, we have Market with Yeo-Neun. Definitely one of the best indie pop rock releases of 2020 in my opinion. One of the most overlooked bands out there at the moment too. Market is pretty damn great. 33, we have Rival Consoles with Articulation. Definitely one of the coolest micro house artists in the field right now. Rival Consoles just keeps dropping fantastic releases over and over again, and I can't say no to Rival Consoles at all. And then at number 32, we have MoMa Ready with Gallery S or Gallery S. It's like a pseudonym name. Whichever way round it is, I'm not entirely sure, but I know him as MoMa Ready. Great little drum and bass release here. Came out right at the start of the year and has really stuck with me for the whole course of 2020. So definitely needs to be on this list. 31, we have Haruka Nakamura with Still Life, one of the most beautiful piano releases I've heard in 2020. Very simple, very straight to the point, but he knows how to put together a wonderful sounding song. At number 30, we got Conway, From a King to a God. I think that title really represents his growth because he was already great before, but this new album here might be the best thing he's ever done. And I am super impressed with the diversity and range of different styles coming through here, considering where he came from in the past. And then at number 29, we have María José Llergo with Sanación. Probably butchered the entire thing there, but this is such a beautiful little flamenco nueva release. Flamenco nueva, yeah. She has one of the best voices I think I've discovered in 2020 easily, and these tracks are absolutely gorgeous and to die for. 28, we have Kelly Lee Owens with Inner Song. She kind of found her voice with this one because the album before this didn't quite have as much vocal presence. They were really just kind of like background vocals, kind of laced into the instrumentals, more so than this one, where she's up front and center and delivering some fantastic vocal performances. And it is just generally a great electronic release as well. 27, we have Vale-Smith. What a great year for this guy, dropping great music in the form of EPs or even random singles every now and then. And alongside that, we have a great album here, indebted to the wonky world of electronic music. Vale-Smith really keeps you on your toes for this entire album here. Every track slaps so fucking hard. 26, we got Backxwash here, another artist with a great year for music. Honestly, the growth Backxwash has seen has been fantastic. Her music is absolutely unique, stellar, all the positives words you could ask for. It's harrowing, it's torturous, but seriously, Backxwash is one of the most unique names in hip hop at the moment, and you've got to be checking her out because you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you don't. 25, Bagdadski Vor with one of the best post-hardcore releases of the year. It has a beautiful atmosphere to it as well. It's absolutely gorgeous while also being on the heavier side of things too, I guess you could say. 24, one of the most unique releases I've heard this year from Sign Libra, C2C. Jesus Christ, this is an absolutely tranquil listen. Honestly, the way that all of the vocals kind of get mashed together and mixed around, it makes you feel like you're floating in space. It's insane, the sound quality and sound design of this thing. Holy shit, another massively overlooked release of 2020, but it is very trance-inducing, trust me when I say that. At number 23, one of the biggest growers for me in 2020, we have Clipping with Visions of Bodies Being Burned. I went back to this just out on a whim and realized actually these tracks are fucking fantastic, and I think every little vignettes, I guess you could call them, on this album has a really cool, interesting and fascinating backstory to it. All of the lyrical themes across this thing are really tight knit. It's really just a perfect Halloween album, honestly. And yeah, I just couldn't believe how they managed to marry the accessibility of like the tracks that they make while also giving them such disturbing and disgusting song topics. It's a pretty difficult thing to do, I think, but Clipping are always managing to do it in such a great way. At 22, we have Fortet with 16 Oceans. Kind of got a bit underrated, I feel, this year, this one. I think it's honestly one of the best Fortet albums we've had in a long time. Has the really beautiful instrumentals that he's been kind of working towards with previous releases, while also giving us just some really nice little ambient techno bops too, with like the opening track and also Baby, and then of course Teenage Birdsong, which is the biggest highlight for me on the whole thing. 21, one of the biggest albums of the year in terms of popularity, Dua Lipa with Future Nostalgia. Honestly, one of my favorite pop releases of the year. I think her charisma really shines through on this thing. The lyrics are really tongue-in-cheek, fun, flirty, not taking itself too seriously, but also being just produced incredibly well. And from start to finish, it's just hit after hit. Every track is a hit, really. Top 20 now, we're in the top 20 of 2020. We have another Griselda member, Benny the Butcher, who really surprised me with this one, honestly. Not that I didn't like him before, I've always thought he was a pretty good rapper, but again, just with how accessible the production is, just like the Conway album, where like they kind of step things up a little bit. I just was really impressed with Hit Boy's contributions to this. I think Benny's lyrics are pretty on point too. His flows are really, really fantastic. It's just everything I want in a hip-hop album, basically. 19, one of the most youthful albums of 2020 for me, Gene Dawson's Pixel Bath. I said in my review that it kind of just takes me back to my younger days. There's just this spirit, very youthful, rebellious spirit running through this album, and the tracks are really creative too. These styles that he kind of mashes up in a way, and you know, kind of just I guess blends together, sort of like this hip-hop, R&B, and then indie rock, pop music all together in one album in such a cool way. Gene Dawson is one to watch for the future, and already with a great album under his belt at a young age. One of the most exciting names in music for me at the moment, Riol with Kinjitsu, one of the most explosive pop releases of the year. No one out there is doing it like Riol. She has so much personality to her voice, so much energy to the tracks too. Again, another artist that really just needs to blow up, because she's got all the ingredients to be one of the biggest names in music, and I'm just waiting for the day that she does blow up, because she massively deserves it. 17, we got Pablo Novell with one of the slickest, coolest, grooviest house releases of the year with Obsolete. Not the most experimental or original you'll ever hear in this style, but I think it's just done at a really high level, to the point where every track is memorable, accessible, and really fun to listen to. There's really nothing I can say negative about this thing. It's a really great listen, pretty short, straight to the point too. What else can I say? At 16, I guess I'm calling this my hip-hop album of the year. It's certainly the highest hip-hop release on my list. But hey, Khalil Blue with Dog. Just a great marriage of lo-fi abstract hip-hop with the more accessible pop rap, even some trappish influences at points too. Not a high level of that on the album, but goddamn, is this thing replayable as hell. It's like 20 tracks, 30 minutes. I just run through this thing and I want to play it again because every track is just so much fun to listen to. And Khalil's got a lot of talent. Really excited to see where he goes. Bawa with Planets Mad next. Honestly, Bawa gave me one of the hypest releases of the year. Jesus Christ, every track is a fucking smasher. Oh my god. Planets Mad, the title track, and plenty of other tracks on this thing to just keep up the energy bursting through my veins. It's really goddamn great to listen to. 14, we got Machine Drum with A View of You. Definitely one of his most diverse releases yet, when we've got features ranging from Tigran Hamasyan, Freddie Gibbs on here too. Like, the range of features is insane, and the consistency, may I add, I think is just absolutely exceptional. Like, I feel, to me, like every track fits on this album so damn well, and nothing really feels out of place, despite the fact that he's detouring off into many different genres with many of these tracks. I think it's super impressive, and I think near enough every track here is great to listen to, so that's just a win-win, really. One of the longest running bands, I guess you could say, on this entire list, we have Deftones at 13 with OMS. Some people called this a bit of a letdown, but I think it's one of the biggest return to forms in you know, rock and metal music we've seen in a while. I think this is just absolutely fantastic. There's this triumphant feel to a lot of these tracks, the euphoric choruses that break through, and then the chugging riffs that come on in the verses. There's this really great blend of heaviness while also being very atmospheric and almost shoegazy at points too. It's beautiful while also making you want to kind of bang your head a little bit too. One of the best singer-songwriter albums of the year, Adrian Lenker at number 12 with Songs. Look, I think Adrian is a fantastic talent. I love her vocals, I love her songwriting. I just think she has everything that you want in this kind of music. The tracks are very soft, straight to the point, but they're no less beautiful because of her talents and her raw, absolute beauty coming through in every track that I just think separates her from many other of her contemporaries at the moment. Juice at number 11 here, almost in the top 10, but I couldn't not mention Juice. This is a fantastic acid house release, just really impeccable in terms of production. This album sounds crazy good. The sound design is ridiculous, and the instrumentals go in all these weird directions in such a great way. Keeps you completely invested from start to finish, and Juice is one of the best discoveries for me in 2020. Starting off the top 10 with such a Ryan core artist, I feel. I've been raving about her for quite a while on this channel, and we have Ichiko Aoba with Windswept Aiden. My god, did she change things up ever so slightly, to the point where it just gave her this new sort of edge that we hadn't seen, this new side to her that we hadn't seen. She was doing some really soft acoustic plucking before this, but she's added this really beautiful orchestral-like instrumentation on some of these tracks that just give it such a magical energy from start to finish. And I didn't realize I needed this until I heard her do it, because she could have probably given us an album just like QP, the one in 2018, and I probably still would have liked it a lot. But I think she's just changed things up ever so slightly to the point where it was just so needed, and just makes me fall in love with her even more. One of the best artists of our time, in my opinion. One of the most, I guess, relevant albums of the year. It feels like the lyrics on this album got more and more relevant as the year went on, considering how the economy in many countries, particularly like the UK and America, started to really fall apart a little bit because of coronavirus. And Spanish love songs here were really tapping into a lot of that kind of like modern day mental health breaking down, how you're just in a dead-end job, not really going anywhere. And I feel like 2020 this album really applies to so many people out there. Even before what happened that we didn't know was going to happen, even when this album came out, this was a really poignant listen in terms of lyrics. I think the instrumentals are fantastic too. The singing is really passionate and even bleak at times, but I think all of it works so well. And I think it's an incredibly relatable listen for many people as well, because so many people feel trapped, alone, just stuck in their lives, not progressing. And I feel like this album really encapsulates all of that, and it's a great listen too. At number 8, one of the most sugariest, sweetest listens of the year. It's so damn sugary, honestly. It gives you toothache. Well, it doesn't give you toothache, it makes your teeth feel good somehow. It's a kind of opposite kind of sugary. It's like good sugar. It's Choir Boy with Gathering Swans. Just think these guys are really fantastic at what they do. I just love the way that they use their influences from the 80s, and they just managed to make it into this modern kind of sound, and they are just making great music at the end of the day. Even if their influences might be clear, if you're making great music, it doesn't really matter. Toxic Eye, Nights Like This, Complainer, just really super replayable tracks, make me really happy every time I hear them. They're just great. And Choir Boy, again, one of the unsung heroes at the moment. At number 7, Shy, we have Shy Obscura. Similarly with Ichiko Aoba, this just gives me this sense of magic. Every time I listen to it, I'm just blown away by these tracks. They're just so perfect, honestly. Like, it's crazy how this album just makes me feel like I'm sat in the darkness waiting for a magic show to begin, and you're just sat there on the edge of your seat waiting, getting excited, and this album just makes me feel that way. I don't really know how or why. Shy was already impressing me with her music with Woolgatherer's Pond, but this album here just cemented how fantastic she is, and unique as well, considering how not very well known she is. But seriously, definitely get your ears on this because it is wonderful. At number 6, we have Leanne La Harvest with her self-titled album here, which was a long time coming. The last album we had from Leanne was 2015, but this did not disappoint despite the wait. Read My Mind, Please Don't Make Me Cry, the title track, the lead single, Bittersweet, just has a beautiful blend of R&B, soul, neo-soul, just all into one album. And because of how great of a singer she is, you end up just focusing so much on how beautiful her voice is to listen to, that even sometimes the instrumentals might take a bit of a back seat for you, but I just can't ignore her voice. She just is one of a kind and one of the best voices in British music at the moment, and maybe in music in general, actually. Number 5, we have Give Me Monaco, From the Coral to the Grey. One of the most oddest discoveries this year. I mean, I essentially found this through an email. I don't often, get through all my emails and stuff, just if I'm a bit busy or whatever. But the way Give Me Monaco, Lee Redding described this album made me kind of go, you know what, he's describing it in a pretty damn cool way. I'm gonna have to check it out. And Jesus Christ, it's in my top 5 of the year. Like, this is why the attitude of I've never heard of this music, so it's not good to me, who cares, no one's ever heard of it, is like the worst attitude you could ever have to anything, because why would you not give something a chance just because you've not heard of it? I mean, this album here is the perfect example of that. A fantastic electronic release, easily one of the year's best for me, and hopefully you check it out as well. At number 4, we have one of the most critically acclaimed albums of the year, and also one of my favourite artists of all time. We have Fiona Apple with Fetch the Bolt Cutters. I think the experimentation that she attempted on this album really paid off. You have some really heavy drumming, propulsive drumming taking over these tracks, while also having just her fantastic lyricism that makes you just read into everything 5 times over just to kind of get what she's talking about and, read into what she's singing about, because she is just a fantastic writer, a great singer. What's interesting as well is that some singers get far into their career, they get into their you know, late 40s, early 50s, however old, and you can hear their voice starting to age, but I don't think Fiona really sounds like she's aging at all. She still sounds like that fantastic singer that gave us that great music and absolutely amazing music from the 90s. And yeah, to this day, she's putting out some of the best music of our time, and there's nothing else to say about it other than that. You've heard all the praise for this album 10 times over and over again, and I'm just here to add to it. We're now in the top 3. We have DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ with Charmed here. One of my favorite artist names around right now. What a great name. DJ Sabrina, the teenage DJ. Come on, man, who came up with that? 3 hours of house, outside of house, even new disco at points too. 3 hours, and each time I listen to it, I just put play on and I don't stop for breaks. I just play the whole thing through. And you know what? I can count on one hand how many albums I can say that about in my entire life of listening to music, because often you get to a point where you get a bit tired, you might hit the 2-hour mark and you're like, well, I probably should turn this off because it's just getting a bit boring, it's getting a bit old. But DJ Sabrina never hits that point. This is just absolutely fantastic. What an achievement, I feel, as well. You don't even have to listen to it from start to finish. I mean, you don't have to listen to anything from start to finish. You could take as many breaks with any album as you want. That's fine. But the fact that it never gets stale or boring or repetitive 3 hours into the music, that's an achievement. And the tracks themselves are absolutely fantastic too. We have Next to Me, which is great. End of an Era, which is absolutely great as well. Like, wow, just wow. What a house album here. One of the best I may have ever heard in my life, actually. At number 2 now, we have an album I wasn't quite anticipating to be as high as this, but I realized that the more I listened to it, the lack of flaws I could find were insane. But we have one of the best, well, probably the best pop release of the year, combining electropop, synth pop, the newfound hyper pop that people are talking about, all into one album with a fantastic singer and fantastic producer working together here. Come and have a go with Heart Failure. And the best thing about this album title is that because you're dancing so goddamn much throughout the whole thing, it probably will eventually give you heart failure. When I thought about how much I played this album all year and how fantastic so many of the individual tracks were, you know, In Love, Do What You Like, Angels, Annihilation, Playboy, like so many tracks here are just absolutely fantastic, and I just love it. You know, it's so easily to replay at any time. The tracks are sensational, honestly, and the talent that these guys have is unmatched, and I am excited to see where they go, because they're at number 2 with their debut album in 2020, and if they're only going to go onwards and upwards, they're going to keep delivering amazing music. Which now brings me to my album of the year. Thank you if you've stuck around for this long to find out what my album of the year is for 2020. And you know what? There's really not a huge amount of explanation as to why. I guess the best thing I can say here is that this is the kind of music that just makes me realize how much I love music. Something that I said in my review for this was that I just feel that later on in life, when, you know, things are too busy, maybe life's getting in the way, maybe you have kids, you have major responsibilities, you have your work, all that kind of stuff, everything's just getting in the way. And, you know, you might not have the same amount of time to listen to music as you once did when you were in your teens or whatever. And I feel like the minute I get the opportunity to just put on this album, to play this album from start to finish, I will just be reminded of how much music means to me as an individual and how important music has been for my whole life, because every time I play this album, it just reminds me of how good music can get. And the album of the year is Natalia Lafourcade with Un Canto por Mexico Volume 1, which is always crazy to me when I think about this being my album of the year, because it's Volume 1. This is volume 1. What on earth is she going to deliver with volume 2? Like, how on earth did this end up being the album of the year for me when it's only like one half of a bigger piece of music? But you know what, man? It just makes me happy every time I play it. Smile-inducing stuff. Every track just puts a huge smile on my face. The huge celebratory feel that every track has. The amazing vocals that she has. Really underrated vocalist, by the way, I think. And just how the instrumentation comes together. Everything just feels like a huge celebration. She's just putting Mexican culture to the forefront and just celebrating it. And I'm not even part of that culture. I'm far removed from that culture, but yet I still get the same sensations from this music as I would if I was part of that culture. Like, it doesn't even matter. It's like separating yourself from it. It doesn't change how you can feel about it. And it's just like a really special feeling whenever I put this album on. I'm just like in my zone, smiling, just playing the whole thing. Everything feels perfect. And Natalia is a wonderful talent. And yeah, this album just gives me those feelings, and it's hard to describe. But you know, I guess the best comparison you could make is like in that part in Ratatouille where the chef sits down. He's like the harshest critic around. No one is harsher than him. He takes a bit of the soup and his life flashes before his eyes, and he reminds himself, you know, how good things can be. And I feel like this album just does the exact same thing for me, just in music form. So yeah, album of the year, Natalia Lafourcade. That's it. That's my list. Hopefully you enjoyed this list. Hopefully you got some recommendations out of it. I really, really hope you check out the ones you may not recognize, because I highly recommend everything here. I think it's been a really good year for music. Maybe not as strong as previous years, but you know what? It doesn't matter when you find as much music as this in one year to absolutely fall in love with. Who really cares at the end of the day? Do please tell me your list in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed my list here. Got lots of recommendations out of it. And yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. I hit 3,000 subscribers pretty recently. It's been a great year for the channel in terms of growth, and hopefully we keep growing from here. And if you've been supporting me from the start, supporting me just a few weeks ago, a few days ago, a month ago, whenever, I just appreciate your support and you know, caring about my opinions, because obviously I love music so much, and it really means a lot that people want to watch my reviews, my opinions, and you know, listen to what I have to say. And hopefully you get great recommendations out of it as well. So thank you for a good year in music and a good year on this channel. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Have a good day and goodbye. Goodbye.